Oh, look how on time we are today. Wow. Although my hair doesn't look really on time. How is everybody? Good morning. Let me do a quick little greetings in the old chatteroo there. And we are off and running. Welcome to another edition of the Astro Weather. Rather dramatic skyscape behind me today. And today we are featuring Taos, New Mexico. Sometimes people ask me, uh, what is the place that we're looking at? Or where did you get that? Well, this is a lovely photograph of Taos, New Mexico in the morning. How about that? With this crepuscular, blood red, tangerine sky. Beautiful, isn't it? I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are and whatever you're doing. And if it is evening, I hope your day has been a meaningful one. Just looking at some potential stars of the day. And today is Sean Penn's birthday. So Sean Penn and Madonna had that sun-sun conjunction, which is generally pretty good for two people. Um, and compatibility, right? Well, there's always other parts of the chart. Today is also Belinda Carlisle of the Go-Go's. Today is her birthday, and the great Mae West, her birthday as well. Robert De Niro, the poet Ted Hughes, and Donnie Wahlberg, New Kids on the Block. Anyway, let's get into the astral weather. I have to, you know what I actually have to do? Believe it or not, I have to cook up the astral weather because let me see if this is going to work. Man, it is so weird. I'm having such a weird experience with a particular browser and a particular website. Very strange happenings. Let me do this. I was on Old World Florida last night. What a great show that was, hanging out with the amazing Dr. Longo. And we definitely got into some astrology and some very interesting parallels between Florida and California and how they're opposite signs astrologically. California being a Virgo state, and Florida being a Pisces state, and California being the bear, and Florida being the fish, which eats the fish. Well, the bear eats the fish, right? So we were all over the place last night, but it was good. It's very eclectic, and always a blast to be on with one of the internet's up and coming stars, and my astrological son. That's what I call him. So, all right, let's do this. Let's do some astro weather. All right, we got about 68 people here. I'm in Miami. So bizarre here. Road trip 1981. Good Thursday, y'all. I hope everyone is having a good day. Ani Brito, Ani Ma in the house. I got to finish watching that. Good show last night. Thanks, Amy. It was a really good show. Rockin' show. Thanks, Steve. It was. Today is my son's birthday. Looking forward to the report today. Well, happy birthday to your son, Miss Pam Whitaker. Hanging laundry. Enjoyed Old Florida last night. We need to see the show today from last night. There you go. Pedrita, what's going on? Let's see. Miss Nikki's here. Marquez, all right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get going. Let's get going. Let me bring up this chart. So, did everybody take my advice yesterday? Did you get your shit done? Did you put in your Puritan work ethic? Because that was the day to do it right there. Well, we got more of the same today, except the moon now is in a slightly different place, right? So we have the moon in Virgo, and we've got that Moon Saturn opposition. And I have been preaching the Protestant work ethic, right, or the Puritan work ethic, a little bit different, and it's still happening, right? Now we have Mars trining Uranus. Okay, pay attention. Today's a day you need to pay attention. Now, there's a lot of activity in the Earth. It's kind of electric, right? We got Mercury, we got Mars. They're 3 degrees apart. They're coming in with a tight trine to Uranus. Uranus rules technology and electricity. So there's a high degree of electricity in the air today and a lot of busyness. But if you don't pay attention, you're going to miss opportunities. You could be so caught up in the things that you're doing that the thing that you're looking for or the thing that's looking for you can be right in front of you. And if you have your, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have your head down, because this is something I've been really kind of hammering on for the last week, right? So keep I have been busier this week than I've ever been in my life, honestly. Just between doing other people's shows. I'm going to be on another show tonight with Zarelith, the Immortal. I think it's going to be on Revolution Radio or something like that. Between that and clients and booking clients and just keeping up with the maintenance of the show and everything, it's just been incredibly busy. But it feels like good busy. There's like spinning your tires in the mud kind of busy. This has been good busy. Some interesting traction is coming out of it, right? So that said, pay attention, because we do have Neptune coming more into this opposition with Neptune. It's interesting too. I'm going to be talking a bit more about Maui today and the situation where they turn the water off before the fire. That, boys and girls, is a Mars-Neptune opposition. So the leadership in whatever is going down in Lahaina is going to be catastrophic. It's catastrophic. It's going to be an absolute catastrophic exposure. So we'll get into more of that on the show that follows this, which is 15 Minutes of Flame. But just notice, right, there's going to be opportunities, and there's going to be more than just opportunities. There's going to be salient moments in this day that if you pick up on them, you can exponentially accelerate what you're doing, right? So how do we do that? Well, let's talk about the moon, because the moon is still kind of in this new phase, right? We're just, by the way, big shout out to David, the Leo King, who welcomed little Aurora into the world yesterday. Did I mention that yesterday? I didn't. I'll mention it again today, or if I did, I'll mention it again today. But it's worth mentioning twice. And mom and dad are fine. Aurora seems to be absolutely fine. And he looks very peaceful. Now there's a concept, a peaceful David. Wow. The world would change in an instant with a peaceful and content Leo King. Well, at least for a little bit. All right. So yeah, we got the moon in Virgo, and it's moving into a nice trine here with Jupiter. So by the time we get to the end of the day, or if you are in another part of the world, towards the end of your night, pay attention to what you are feeling and thinking about before you go to sleep, if you're in that part of the world, right? Because the moon rules our nocturnal activities. And in Virgo, it can be a little bit hard to get to sleep, honestly, with the moon in Virgo, because it's one of those moons where if you haven't completed your day's tasks, or you don't leave things unfinished. Like when we have especially when it's new like that, when it's new or when it's full, of course, that would be in Pisces. You don't want to leave things unfinished, because it's harder to go to sleep with that Virgo moon. You think about everything you didn't do or could have done better. So today is one of those days where, again, coming off the new moon, we're going to see that Shiva-shaped crescent moon here. The moon is receptive. So you want to be receptive today. There's a lot of Virgo energy in there. And so Virgo can often lose itself in the details. It can't always see the big picture. Well, today's one of those days where the big picture, provided to you by Jupiter, is available. So we have the macro and the micro, right? Virgo is going to be the micro, Jupiter and Taurus is going to be the macro, and Uranus opens the door. It opens the door through timing, good timing. Don't be so. The other side of this, now we have the Sun and Venus coming into square here. Don't let your ego get in the way. Right? That's to me. This is the well, I'm too proud to do that, or I don't do that. I don't do windows. I'm going to keep it real. Like, you may want to check that. You may want to check that. Now, other people in your life may not be checking that. And so you may have to deal with their not checking it, which is a whole different conversation. You know, I didn't spend a lot of time in corporate America. You can probably understand why. But when I did, I got a microdose. Because the company I worked for, even though it was a corporation, it was one of these digital music startups in California. It was a little bit different. People there had titles like Director of Possibilities. Okay. It was different. I loved it though. But, every now and then you would run into like corporate shenanigans or people that had some kind of Machiavellian sort of side to them. Like, oh, I'm going to play the 40 chess with this company and the person. I would run into these people. I'm like, why don't the fuck you just do your work? Right? Like, I never really understood that. Just do your fucking work, do a good job, and guess what? You'll do well. Right? So you know who those people are. And if you're in a corporate space, keep your eye out for those people because they are on parade today. Look what I did. Watch out for people taking credit for your work today. Keep an eye on that. Now, if indeed that does happen, well, then I think you can step into that square. You're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Pump the brakes. No, you didn't build that business. Right. So that's what we have going on here. So if you're checking your ego at the door, say, you know what? I'm going to roll my sleeves. I'm going to get this done. Yeah, there's a reward here, especially if you're paying attention. And if you're able to just kind of drop the ego. And here's the good part. These two things are not mutually exclusive. And if you have somebody in your environment who hasn't dropped the ego and they're trying to stand out for the things that maybe you've done, it's not going to go well for them. So just keep that in mind. Now, on the other side, if you're in a leadership position, there's this Sun and Venus trine with Chiron, which means that you could be of help and assistance to other people. Find out what they need. Right. That's the beautiful part about Leo, right? It's big, and theoretically, if the sun is not weaponized against us, it's generous, right? It gives part of our planet life force, not all of it, right? There's a lot of life force that comes up from beneath the planet itself, but the sun completes the circuit. So this is an opportunity to say, okay, well, if I am in a position of power or leadership or authority, who needs some guidance here, or who can I step out and help and reach out to? Right? That's the trying to Chiron. If you're a parent and you are having some issues with your children, this is a good day. Try not to over insinuate your position or you'll get caught up in this square. But if you have a child that is going through a challenging time, just sit there and if they'll talk to you, ask them, how can I help? How can I help? Try not to go in and say, well, I told you so. If you hadn't done that, or if you had done this, or if you applied for that, you wouldn't be in this position. Like, don't go there, right? That's the last thing they're going to want to hear with this square. But if you come in and say, okay, how can I help you? What kind of help do you need? And they'll say, well, thanks for asking. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I've got myself in this jam. That's always the key to everything. In human design, I'm a projector. So I've learned a lot of projector lessons. And one of the lessons is for me, and I think this is a universal and ubiquitous lesson, You can never have a transactional relationship with another person unless they agree to it, right? So if you want to impart your point of view or wisdom or life experience, whatever, with somebody, what you have to do is you have to ask that person if they would like feedback or if they would like to hear what you have to say on the matter. And when they say yes, and I've said this before, you have a contractual agreement. Now you have the ability to share what you think or need to say. If you come in and just come in guns blazing, nobody's going to listen to you, right? Period. So this is an asking and an inquiry, and this is the guns blazing. It's a very, very different approach. Mars is coming more into that opposition with Neptune. I think we'll get something is going to happen on Friday, right? Like Friday feels like tomorrow feels like a news dump day. It just feels like a news dump day. And over the weekend, as that Mars transit begins to oppose Neptune even more, it's kind of like the fog of information. So tomorrow feels like a weird news dump day. I think I'd have to spend a little more time sort of cogitating that. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. Maybe I'll do an Astro Weather tomorrow. We'll see. So I've got an early morning client. All in all, this is shaping up to be, again, a very good day. Juno has just moved into Leo. Right? So that's the birth of something new. Well, we just had the Leo princess born. So let's look at it from another perspective. This is a time to reawaken your heart, right? Leo is the heart. And what are you passionate about? What what is something new that you can start that you feel connected to? Right? This is also, again, it's an opening. It's an opening for a new relationship with your child, right? Juno and Leo. Only Juno and I know. Ba-dum. Okay, I think that's it. We got some inconjuncts, Chiron, in conjunct with Mercury. Okay, let me address that. I think that's worth addressing. So the Chiron Mercury in conjunct. If you say something that you think is embarrassing, it's okay. It's okay, right? It's one of those things where, especially if it's in public, somebody might say, "You know what? That's happened to me before." You can do the same thing for another person. You know what? That's happened to me before. Not a big deal, right? So there's a possibility here with this Mercury Chiron in conjunct, which is going to last for a couple of days. And Virgo tends to be more timid, even when it's in its own sign with Mercury here. And then in the back end, you have this Chiron in Aries, which is screaming for attention. Screaming for attention. Take a deep breath. Count to 3 before you say the thing you need to say. And then just be conscious and aware of what you're saying. Let the chips fall where they may. The sun is moving into in conjunct with Neptune. Again, this is one of those aspects. The emperor has no clothes. We're seeing the absolute dregs of leadership with the sun Neptune in conjunct. And in terms of our so-called leaders with this Neptune in conjunct, there's a good chance that we'll also see some exposure as well. Very interesting chart. Not a bad time of year. A little low on the water. Of course, the sky is boiling hot. And Joe Biden has signed over our future relationship with global boiling, as they're going to call it now, with weather and food lockdowns. Oh, yeah, that's happened. We'll talk more about that on 15 Minutes of Flame. Okay, let's talk about our star of the day. Our star of the day is none other than one Vernon Howell. Vernon Howell, also known as David Koresh. David Koresh is one of the most fascinating people of the late 20th century. The head of the Branch Davidians in their compound in Waco, David Koresh is complicated, but you can see him all over the chart. So if you don't know, David Koresh, formerly Vernon Howell, this is his biblical name that he chose. How he winds up taking charge of the Branch Davidians is that he has there's an older woman and a man who that was their group, and David Koresh came into their group and showed some promise with being able to interpret scripture, but he was very awkward, right? Very awkward. He winds up getting into a gunfight with, I forget her name, the woman's son, and kills the son. Right? This is a Cain and Abel story. So David Koresh kills her son, and then as soon as she passes away, he takes possession of the Branch Davidians. Mount Carmel, right? Is that what that was up in Waco? And the thing that's fascinating about Koresh is he goes from being somebody who would awkwardly recite scripture, and then he becomes this master of being able to decode the seven seals. That is David Koresh's claim to fame. And that's why people, and you got to remember now, this is all pretty much, this is pre-internet. You know, the compound goes down in flames in 1994. It's all pre-internet. And yet the word of David Koresh going out around the world, because there are people from other countries there, as a prophet who can translate the seven seals, starts to percolate. And so people show up, right? And that's what he becomes known for. And he goes from being this kind of inept interpreter of the scripture to somebody who is commanding. Now, we can see this in his chart. We see everything. We can see everything with David Koresh in his chart. The 11th house, right, is what? Groups. And he's got a Sun Uranus conjunction in Leo. And you can almost see with like the Sun with the conjunction with Uranus, and then on the other side, kind of a wide conjunction with Pluto, that he would go through a transformation and it would be radical. And he is a group leader. Some might say he was a cult leader. We have Mercury here way back. You can see that it had gone into retrograde direct because it's 16 degrees behind the sun. And Mercury in Leo, for better or worse, can take on the tone of an authority, right? So he's reaching back. He's reaching back into the recesses of some form of collective energy. I would not have a problem with making a claim that David Koresh was feeding off the energy of the group. And I'm not here to demonize David Koresh, by the way. I think that ultimately he got sold out in a big way, right? But with Mercury here in the background, something happens. Something takes place and flips, right? It flips. And over here on the other side of everything, he's got the moon in Aquarius in the 5th house. So he's got all these weird relationships, right? Strange relationships with young women and all the other things that they are accusing him of, which is pedophilia and child brides. And I'm not saying that some of that didn't happen. There were clearly some very young women who were pregnant with David's children. And if you follow the story of what happened in the compound, when you got there, if you're a dude, you were not having sex. And your wife became part of David Koresh's shadow, the brides of the prophet. So let's take a look at the 12th house. He has that weird Venus-Mars conjunction, right, in the same sign. And there is a strange kind of charisma that these people have. And sometimes they can be very feminine, and sometimes they can be very masculine. Venus is retrograde here, and you can tell that there were some agreements that had gone south, particularly because David Koresh was actually purchasing guns and selling them to people in Waco. He was selling them to law enforcement in Waco. He was selling them to people that work for the sheriff's department. David Koresh actually had a relationship with the ATF. There are some people who think that David Koresh might have even been a spook. But clearly, like there, with Mars in the 12th house, he had hidden enemies. I don't know if he had enemies that had infiltrated inside of Branch Davidian compound, right? I don't know if that's the case or not, but there's a lot going on over here in his 12th house. And you can see where with Saturn at 0 Capricorn, he ran that household with an ironclad fist, right? Saturn at the very, very first degree of Capricorn. And, Saturn is the authority. And in certain instances, like the 9th house, Saturn is the teacher, it's the Hierophant. So David Koresh is playing the role of the Hierophant in the 4th house. And where does he get in trouble? He gets in trouble with the 7th house. He gets in trouble with law enforcement, South Node, Vertex, Eris, Aries. These are relationships and contracts that have gone bad. And David Koresh should never have gotten involved in guns. Never. I don't know what the impetus was, if he was, kind of consumed by being this sort of millennialist doomsday cult, right? Like, he should never have gotten involved with guns. David Koresh, with his ascendant in Libra, true note in Libra, should have been a peacemaker. Now, did he get fucked over? Absolutely. Totally got fucked over. I'm not going to get into a whole breakdown of what happened, but I will tell you, if you're not aware of this, that when the ATF showed up, and there have been these so-called violations, that when they assaulted, they did an assault on the compound. The first person, there's footage around this. The first person that went in was the little tactical squad leader, right? He goes in, and then there's this group of 5 guys, I think, 5 or 6 guys that come in after him. And out of all those guys that went into the building, only one of them lived. The other 6 were killed. And or the other 5 were killed. And who were part of that group? They were former Arkansas state troopers that drove Bill Clinton around. That's right. Once Bill Clinton became president, he got these guys jobs inside the government, and particularly the ATF. And they were the ones that were going through that open window that their tactical squad or tactical unit leader went through. And who do you think opened fire on them? Question mark, rhetorical. Yeah. Interesting, right? And then where did they house all of the testimony and everything that was related to what happened in Waco, in the Murrah building, Oklahoma City, where they had the Oklahoma City bombing? All the records for this trial were there. Now remember, this is all pre-big time computer stuff, right? They had paper records. This is 1994, 1995. And who was one of the guards there at the Murrah building who died when that building exploded? Former Arkansas State trooper, right? So there's a lot of high strange around David Koresh, but you can see the authority, right? The Saturn-Pluto trine. He's an authority. Like when David Koresh brings it down, he brings it down. Even his son, right, in a wide trine with Saturn, he's an authority. So in that 4th house world, he was Saturn. He was the Hierophant. Jupiter in her second house, other people's money, other people's resources. Seem to do okay. Seem to do okay on those tithings and those donations. All he had to do was download the meaning of the seven seals. Mercury Neptune square. Ah, yeah. Bit of a liar. Bit of a con man. You know, David Koresh used to go to Hollywood. I don't know if you guys know this or not. He used to go to Hollywood back in the hair metal days. And he would bring the top bitches, as Andrew, what's his name? Andrew Tate would say. He would bring it the most fetching young lasses from Waco with him to Hollywood. And he would try to lure these rock, these hair metal rock dudes to come live with him in Waco where they could have a music studio and make records, because David Koresh also fancied himself as a bit of a rock star. Of course he would. Right? So he's a fascinating character, and one that I think is to some degree somewhat duplicitous, but on the other hand, also fully engaged and believing in his so-called mission. I just, there are times where I just wonder how much programming might have gone in, because there's just this weird time where he goes away, and when he comes back, he's almost like a different person. I mean, he's the same guy, but his abilities to be this charismatic preacher are undeniable, absolutely undeniable. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating person character chart, and one of the real tragic stories of the 20th century. There you go, David Koresh. All right. If you want to hear more of things like this, why don't you come on over to 15 Minutes of Flame? That's 15 Minutes of Flame. And I'm going to get ready and go work on that show. We go for about an hour and a half, and we cover the topics of the day. What else? Oh, let's talk True. Let me give you the visual for True Hemp Science, which is the sponsor, the one and only sponsor of this show. It's such a relaxing website. Let me just give you a visual here. There it is, True Hemp Science, True CBD. And just to give you a look at all the products here, we've got oils and edibles and water soluble CBD for your pets. And if you want to learn more about it, of course, you can speak to a CBD expert. You're going to be talking to Chris. All you got to do is make an appointment. Spend $100 or more and type in 15MINS, 15MINS, and you'll get free product. $150 or more, get free shipping. And there's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's how we do business. How we do business in America. Good business. All right. Thanks for being here. Have a blessed day. And if it's nighttime, just make sure that you get all the clutter out of your head and get a good night's rest and enjoy your evening. I'll be back here tomorrow with the Friday Forecast. I'm not sure who's going to be joining me tomorrow. We'll see. But I will probably have some Astro Weather for the weekend. We'll check in on the news dump. All right, take care, and bye for now.